Alright, Imperialists, be honest. After all those hundreds of hours in Europa Universalis 4, don't you get the feeling that every playthrough starts to look the same? The same France consolidates its lands, then blobs into Italy. The Ottoman Empire conquers Egypt, and then nothing. Meanwhile, you're struggling with Brandenburg or some other Burgundy trying to form Germany within historical borders. Zero surprise. But what if I told you that you could just throw all of that out the window? All you need is to get yourself a girlfriend. Or better yet, seriously dive into new, fantastic worlds. Play as the Empire of Man fighting chaos in the 42nd millennium, or become a tree or some ant in Tolkien's Middle-earth. Today I'll show you 6 of the best fantasy mods that totally, and I mean totally, change the map with loads of new flavor. Not just for hundreds but for thousands of hours more. Just like the games on Eneba, which are cheap and great thanks to the deals going on there, I've put a discount code for my viewers in the description. To make it work, you'll need to use the links provided there as well. Before we get into the specifics, a quick tutorial. In the description of this video, I've included links to all the mods. To make a mod work on Steam, go to the workshop, search for its name or paste the link there. Then, on the selected mods page, click subscribe. In the game launcher, create a new playset, give it a name and add the mod you want, but do it one at a time. For those of you who have the game on Epic Game Store, honestly tough luck, because I couldn't find any of these mods available for download elsewhere. So if I were you, I'd buy the base game on Eneba, it's cheap there, and download the mods the way I just showed. Then go into your documents, find the Europa Universalis 4 folder and copy the entire mod section into the EU4 folder from the Epic Games Store. It should work. First up is my favorite dark fantasy universe, Warhammer. Specifically Warhammer Fantasy Universalis. This mod recreates the entire Warhammer world, literally. It's even bigger than the one portrayed in the Total War series, although the campaign starts at exactly the same point in time. And just like in the Total War series, it ends with the Chaos Invasion sweeping across the world, and the coming of the end times. You can only play in one time period. Which in my opinion is actually a plus. Instead, the creators have added tabs explaining different regions of the world, highlighting which nations are easiest to play and which are the most interesting. For me, one of the most fascinating nations is of course the Empire of Man, ruled by the newly elected Emperor Karl Franz, Elector Prince of Reichland. It features a Holy Roman Empire style mechanic, so the game is diplomacy focused, although it works a bit differently here since there are way more elector counts. Ultimately, you can still choose between centralizing or decentralizing the empire. From what I've noticed, some bonuses remain the same, but there are also new ones. For example, corruption resistance. Corruption itself exists in 3 main forms here. First, you've got the lands of Slovenia under the rule of vampire lords aiming to spread vampirism, eventually challenging the emperor and taking over the empire. Then, past Kislev, there's Mount Emberfang. Yep, we're talking Skaven here, spreading our corruption. Emberfang is quite a large area, as it used to be the heart of the Skaven Empire and home to all the major clans. There's even a separate map showing all the underground layers inside the mountain. Further east past the mountain range lies land corrupted by chaos. You can play as any of the chaos tribes, even under the command of Archon the Everfucked. At first, your goal is to reform the Horde and then to destroy the world. If you enjoy playing tall and focusing purely on internal development, where you won't conquer a single province during the entire campaign, yet by the end of your mission tree you'll still be one of the most powerful nations, I recommend the Wood Elves of Athelloren. Oh yes, Black Orcs from the Red Fang tribe under the command of Warboss Grimgo. Their mechanic is simple, the more they bash heads, the stronger they get. Exactly how it should be. This nation is clearly designed for one thing. Yep, constant conquest. You don't stop until... But it doesn't end there, there's even more. How could you not love this mod? And if, like me, you enjoy playing as dwarves, you can play as Karaza Karak and aim to rebuild Karaz Angkor, the Dwarven Empire. One of your major goals will be defeating Grimgor. Playing as dwarves is a blend of development, trade, conquest, basically everything. Dwarves love gold after all, and Karaza Karak is their crown jewel. Of course, I also have to mention the Elves of Ultuan, who are striving for unification under the leadership of the Phoenix King. But which path will the elves choose? Unification or reclaiming lost lands? That is, if they manage to defeat the Dark Elves of Nagaroth under the rule of Witch King Malekith. Speaking of which, I'm curious whether Black Arcs are included in any form, since I can apparently build a Black Fleet. To the south, of course, we've got Lastria, home of the cold-blooded lizard men. Wow, you can even try to restore their ancient empire. And don't get me started on the cursed vampire fleet right in the middle of it all. Honestly, I could keep going. There are so many nations I haven't even mentioned yet, each with its own lore, unique mission trees, forms of government with their own developments, and national ideas. Literally every single nation has them. Not to mention special events like the resurrection of Nagash, the powerful necromancer. If you know this world like I do and you enjoy reading books and stories set in it, you'll be happy to know there are many iconic locations represented as monuments. The Altdorf College of Mages, the Imperial Gunnery School, Fortress Prague with its palace, or my favorite Drakenhof. And yes, I've got gold there, if only Isabella von Karstein was around. I've spent 10 hours playing this mod recently and I still haven't shown you a lot. In fact, I haven't even seen a lot myself. So if you know this mod, let me know in the comments what else is worth checking out. Alright Imperialists, from the world of dark fantasy, I'm taking you 40,000 years into the future, to a world of dark science fiction. Warhammer 40,000, where the well-known Astartes are of course present, and in the EU40k Warhammer Total Conversion mod, they are also featured. I have to admit, the map in this mod is really interesting. Yes, there are tons of dots, each one is a planet. All that dark space between them, which is supposed to represent outer space, is just regular sea where your fleets will sail. You'll have to use your imagination here, because it should look something like this. All the wastelands you can't move through are meant to simulate warp storms, which either prevent or severely complicate travel. That means sometimes moving your fleet to a nearby system can take a really long time. Some planets have multiple provinces, like Mars or Terra, and according to the mod's creators, there are about 3,500 provinces in total. For now, since the mod is still being developed, from what I've seen, most of the races have unique national ideas, but the same can't really be said about mission trees, at least not yet. Still, it's definitely worth playing as the Imperium of Man, which has a massive number of vassal-like entities and its own unique mission tree. Not a huge one, but it's there. In reality, those are more like tributaries, because the Imperial system here is a modified version of the Celestial Empire system from EU4, complete with Imperial reforms you can pass. You've got meritocracy, and from time to time you can issue a decree. There's even a Primarch list showing who's alive and who's dead. Though I haven't played long enough to know if that really impacts anything. This mod also features a bunch of unique estates with their own privileges. Some you start with, and others you can unlock later. Though I did notice quite a few similarities to vanilla EU4 as well. Government forms have been reworked to better fit the lore. Even the Great Crusade is represented. Or rather, the continuation of the Crusade, since this takes place long after the original one. We've got several Necron factions too. Necrons are basically ancient metallic skeletons from space who wake up after eons of slumber to, well, destroy everything. They have 5 tiers of technological advantage, immortal rulers, a unique government form, very low manpower recovery, and a mechanic to awaken other tombs. And yes, you're probably wondering what happens when I click that button. Their ultimate goal is to rebuild the Necron Empire. In the Eye of Terror, of course, we have Chaos, along with all its lords who are also playable and who can make offerings to the Chaos gods. If you conquer all the worlds in the Eye of Terror, you can proclaim the Dark Imperium. Unfortunately, there are no mission trees for them yet. We've also got the Webway, inhabited by the Dark Eldar. And the Eldar themselves, who, from what I can tell, have these craft worlds. Eldar are basically space elves. Sadly, they currently have very little content. There is also one faction that got a lot of love and is found under the Tyrannid Wars tab. Yes, Tyrannids. A cosmic plague that flew in just to devour the entire galaxy, something like Zerg. There's lore, the awakening of the new Leviathan, a unique government system you can reform further, and a fairly extensive mission tree. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the Orcs, their faction is here too. There's also the Tau Empire, but outside of some unique national ideas, those nations don't have much going for them yet. Still, I think this is a pretty awesome mod, one you could easily sink hundreds of hours into, conquering entire sectors in the name of the God Emperor, who of course sits upon the eternal golden throne. After all that space stuff, we're coming back down to Earth, but not just any Earth, we're heading to Middle-earth, in the Europa Universalis 2 mod. I have to admit, I played a lot of the first version of this mod years ago in multiplayer with my supporters, and I had a great time. Apparently this new version is even better. We've got around 500 playable nations here. Unfortunately, most of them have basic mission trees, but thankfully, not all of them. So if you want to summon Sauron or some other Dark Lord, you absolutely can. Many nations also have unique national ideas, government systems and mechanics tied to them, allowing for reforms. And from what I've seen, there are a lot of new reforms. But the biggest strength of this mod is that it's like many maps in one, because there are a ton of start dates. Like seriously, a lot. Thankfully for each of them, the developers have picked out interesting nations to play. I clicked around randomly, and from what I saw, most of them have unique trees, decisions, government forms and so on. Because the time frame here is so long, the text system has been changed. In later start dates, you already begin with assigned ideas, which seem to be completely randomized. There are also new ideas specific to this mod. These change depending on whether you side with Shadow, Light or a neutral race. There are many new religions, some of which didn't exist or didn't work before. Now most of them have their own special mechanics, loads of cultures and even unit types specific to each tech group. Here you can see the Orc unit group and here the Gondorian human group. Each one has its own custom pips. And of course, depending on what race your kingdom belongs to, you get certain bonuses or penalties. For example, elves live very long. Their armies are tougher and more disciplined, but smaller in size. And since they're on the side of light, like I mentioned earlier, they get different ideas. Did I mention buildings? There's a huge breakdown here too. You've got human, dwarven, elven and orcish buildings, each with their own specific bonuses available only to certain races and not always available to everyone. Most of them also require a developed settlement to build. There are cities, capital cities and fortresses, so your provinces need specializations, and honestly I really like that. And monuments, can't forget those, there are tons of them, many of which you'll definitely recognize from the Tolkien trilogy. Minas Tirith with its wide tower, Barad-dûr in Mordor, which is super useful for conquest. Wow, Minas Morgul, how cool is that? And I won't lie, playing as the dwarves, reclaiming Moria and building a powerful kingdom there sounds really fun. Or if you'd prefer, you can reenact the Battle of Helm's Deep, or take a closer look at what's going on in Erebor, the Lonely Mountain. They've got no shortage of gold income, that's for sure, just missing a good mission tree. Most of these monuments are visually shown on the map, which also makes the game more fun to play. It adds flavor to the entire experience. Units also have their own models, depending on which race you're playing. Though not all of them. I remember Ents used to look like Ents with super overpowered units. Now they're kinda meh. But whatever, I remember that from the previous version of the mod. Maybe now it's just better for game balance. What annoys me the most about this mod though is the replaced UI graphics everywhere. They're obviously meant to fit the theme, but to me they hurt readability. Although I'll admit the events strike a nice balance between style and readability. Same goes for some of the other windows. But when it comes to missions, I'd honestly prefer a more uniform background, because everything there kind of blends together visually.
Dragonborn.
Elder Scrolls Universalis. This fantasy universe probably doesn't need much of an introduction, right? It's a gigantic mod weighing in at 3.5 gigabytes. That's not surprising considering it's still being updated and has been in development non-stop for 7 years. In my opinion, it currently has only 2 drawbacks. Since it's such a massive mod, after a while it starts running much slower and tends to crash more often during multiplayer sessions. Desyncs and other issues are more frequent here, at least for me. But everything else is a big plus. There are tons of races, tons of religions, tons of cultures, and everything has its own unique mechanics. Even moons are orbiting in this one. Just like in the previous mod, we have multiple start dates that affect the gameplay and what's going on. But most nations also have their own unique trees, really big mission trees. There's even a dedicated tab that shows you the unique missions and how they're divided by culture. Many nations can also form new empires and pursue different goals. Personally, I'd love to play as the Ultimate Elves, specifically the High Elves, and create one of those nations. But that's not all, we also have an archaeology system, enchantments, or smithing special equipment, an alchemy system, oh, and magic, that wasn't here a year ago. And if you've got a special terrain type, you can enter a Dwarven Observatory. There, if you find the right combination of constellations, you can unlock various bonuses. Every nation has its own specific government system, governmental reforms, and later stage reforms as well. The estates, now this is important, aren't just renamed versions of the vanilla ones. Many things work differently here, and there are new privileges. Ideas have been reworked, and there's a new tech system, a unique and specific building system. And of course, we can't forget about the monuments spread across the map, there's a lot of them here. And speaking of the map, take a look, units also have their own unique appearances. For example, here you can see Khajiit, goblins, elves, human knights, and in Morrowind, that's the island with the volcano. I must say it looks brilliant too. There are orcs and those sadder looking elves. You can literally pick any of these unique nations you currently see and enjoy a distinct playthrough for hundreds of hours. To me, this isn't just a mod, it's practically a whole new game, a grand strategy game built on the EU4 engine. If I were to recommend any nations to you, a classic pick would be playing the Imperial City, which is currently going through a rough patch. You know, they lost a war against the elves, but you can lead a rebellion and try to rebuild a new human empire. In the north lies Windhelm. Its throne is occupied by a great king you should recognize from Skyrim. Yes, literally, this entire map is the region you played in while roaming Elder Scrolls Skyrim. And now you can take the reins of that land and strive to unify it, creating the Empire of Skyrim. If you're in the mood for a development-focused game, there's probably nothing better than the Dwemer of Kraganmoor. They also have some nice military bonuses, I must say, but more importantly, they're probably the best pick if you're focused on development. With their mission tree, you can aim to build a second Dwarven empire. You just have to capture all the strongholds marked on the map. According to the mod creators, it's also supposed to be possible to resist a Daedric invasion. I'll admit, I'm really curious about that, even though I don't yet know when it happens. A very unique empire could be one formed by the elves living on the Somerset Isles, specifically the Restless League, which gets a rather intriguing form of government, a pirate republic. And so many other scenarios, this mod is just absolutely massive. Alright, listen up. After all these fantastic worlds I've shown you so far, it's time for something truly special. And I hope most of you know this one, Azeroth in the World of Warcraft Universalis mod. This is a mod that's been in development since 2019, and it's an incredibly ambitious project because it doesn't just cover the world from World of Warcraft, it actually goes all the way back to Warcraft 1. Then it includes Warcraft 2, 3 and moves on to the familiar setting from WoW, ending unfortunately at Mists of Pandaria. Which honestly is fine by me, I'm not sure I could have handled Warlords of Draenor. Whatever. The important thing is that Wrath of the Lich King is here, because I'm seriously nostalgic for that expansion. And just a little side note, WoW was actually the first game I ever made a guide for. Seriously. It was while raiding Icecrown Citadel that I got fed up with new players constantly joining and needing everything explained. That's where my journey on Polish YouTube began, and that's why my Polish channel has Wipe in its name. Because in every guide I showed how quickly we fighting every boss. Just a little piece of history for you. Now let's get back to the mod. This mod features an incredibly detailed map, from Draenor through the Eastern Kingdoms, which aren't on this side, so let's go like this. Here's Kalimdor, Northrend, and of course Pandaria. Plus hundreds of other locations from different expansions and parts of Warcraft. Jesus, they even included the Firelands and Deepholm. There are so many great atmospheric factions you can play. Let's start with Orgrimmar. At the beginning, you're given a huge configuration panel. It lets you adjust pretty much everything. Turn magic on or off, toggle racial modifiers, or make the game more difficult with certain settings. One really great feature is Warcraft Faction Mode. It allows you to form alliances with all the original Horde or Alliance factions, without taking up diplomatic slots, because that Horde versus Alliance split should absolutely be preserved. From what I've seen, most factions have unique mission trees. And here's a cool detail, it resembles the quest log screen from World of Warcraft. Some trees are small, but usually expandable, or they're just huge from the start. Switching to the Alliance, you can play as Stormwind, rebuild the Mage Towers, there are tons of monuments to discover, or you can play more aggressively, unite the Southern Kingdoms, and create a new Arathor. Just north of Stormwind is Khazmodan, a Dwarven nation, focused on military development. You can end the Dwarven Civil War and restore the kingdom of Anvilmar. If you remember Darnassus, yes, the giant bonfire. You can also play as the Night Elf faction. If you're a fanboy of Sylvanas Windrunner, leader of the Undead Forsaken, maybe you'll want to help her complete her vengeance. I really like the UI overhaul in this mod, plus several new mechanics, some of which honestly should be in the base game. I also really enjoy the auto-building system. You just select how many buildings you want, click a button, and if you have the money, they'll be automatically constructed throughout your empire, or destroyed. Among the new systems are archaeology, bonus gems, achievements, and you can even change your faction color however you like. Pink Forsaken? Yep. In Northrend we've got the Scourge under the command of Arthas. Because hey, who says you always have to play the good guys? There are a ton of amazing factions here. each one with a unique mission tree, unique ideas, all supported by a huge number of new national ideas in basically every group. Unit types are unique for each faction, plenty of racial bonuses. And don't even get me started on the government types, there are tons of custom systems here. Warcraft Universalis is also one of the best mods for multiplayer. It's perfect for team matches like Horde vs Alliance or for co-op campaigns where everyone teams up against a powerful enemy. Alright Imperialists, it's time for the cherry on top, the jewel in the crown of this entire list, Unbanar. This is not, I repeat, this is not just a mod, this is a completely new game hidden inside the EU4 engine. What does this mod change? In short, everything. You've got here a massive fantasy world that's even larger than the entire base EU4 map. Hundreds of unique nations, probably around 400, each with their own lore, their own history for you to uncover. On top of that, an advanced magic system, hundreds of unique mission trees, complex racial interactions. Unbanar is a community-created fantasy world, but this isn't some amateur project. You've got everything here. Elven kingdoms, dwarven strongholds, yes, my personal favorite. Fallen human empires, orcish tribes, and hundreds of other nations I can't even tell you about yet because I haven't discovered them myself. Playing this mod feels like living in a real D&D world, but with the full power of grand strategy behind it. My dear viewers, Unbanar is not just pretty visuals. The magic system isn't just cosmetic, it's the core of the gameplay. Different schools of magic give you wildly different bonuses. You can use them to develop your cities, burn down enemy forts, or go down the path of necromancy and become an immortal lich. Becoming a powerful mage makes you an unstoppable general. There's also a deep racial system affecting your armies and those of your enemies. It comes with pros and cons for your entire civilization. It even affects tolerance. Depending on how you treat other races, you can live in peace or commit purges. The scale of this mod is simply overwhelming. A single campaign can take hundreds of hours because each nation has a carefully written story, unique mission trees, and different challenges based on the era you're playing in. From rebuilding kingdoms in the Age of Monsters, to dealing with the aftermath of a god's death, returning to a continent the elves literally blew up, and finally surviving into the era of magical decadence. And most importantly, this mod is constantly evolving. No surprise there, just look at the community working on it. There are always new sub-mods being made. This isn't the kind of mod you download and forget. After a weekend, you won't get bored. And actually, it's one of the most popular EU4 mods out there, so you'll definitely find people to play multiplayer with. That was my top 6 fantasy mods for EU4, each of them brings hundreds of new hours of gameplay, with completely different experiences. Okay, now I've got a challenge for you. Pick one of these mods, play a campaign over the weekend, and tell me in the comments how it went, what you did, and what you achieved. I'll try to record the most liked suggestion myself. And if you can't wait for that episode, here's the story of a dwarven expedition I played through in Unbanar.